Yeah, I think I've tried filming this video at least 5 or 6 times. Because I just can't say exactly what I want to say until now. I have discovered the best way to put it. Excuse me, I had bubbly water. Recently in BookTube, there was this little lovely thing called diversities. Hashtag diversity, I think. The diversity bookathon. That was what was going on. Then there, of course, on Twitter, there was this hashtag diversity thing floating around, and it was started by a woman who actually lives in my state, and also I watch on YouTube. She's a booktuber. Her name's Brie Fauché. Hi, Brie Fauché. In case you're watching this, hi. Loved your videos. Loved your videos. But I just gotta say that I feel like I need to insert my 2 cents on this. Which, personally, I think what has been said has already been said, but, you know, why not add to the controversy? Because it's fun. And I like watching little people squirm because they don't know what to do with differing opinions other than say, well, because you think this way, you're obviously this way. Where's your qualifier? Come on, you people who, like, you know, worship science. Come on. Use the scientific method if you're going to make assumptions like that. Stop being English majors. I'm an English major, so I can say that. Anyway, and one of the things I want to say about diversity, as somebody who writes, I want to come at it from an author standpoint. And no, I'm not going to come at it from Victoria Schwab's standpoint, because after what she did to somebody who was actually trying to say, look, she doesn't have to do whatever you little tweeters want her to do, she rudely and rather meanly called Brie Fauché out in a way that made me sit back and think, if I ever do this to any of my readers, whether I agree with their political, religious, and moral and ethical viewpoints or not, I don't want to be a writer. I don't want to tell stories. I don't think I'm worth ever being read by anyone. And not because I feel like that Brie Fauché particularly presented herself in the best way, because nobody really presents themselves the best way possible when they're saying something controversial, or at least supposedly controversial. Years ago, this wouldn't have been controversial. This would have been like, yeah, duh. But, I mean, I looked at what Victoria Schwab did, and I just thought, that's disgusting. This woman pays money for your books. Really? She actually values you as a writer. She respects your craft. Are you literally going to sacrifice your craft for social justice? And that, what I just said right there, is the biggest problem I have with this diversity in literature push. Because I feel like it's hard to put into words. I feel like we have made this world, this world of it has to be a certain way. There has to be a quota of this certain things, this certain amount of X, Y, and Z. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, but you can't get everything in there. And that's impossible, because everything, yes, there might be everything that you're talking about that exists in the world, but as from a minority standpoint, what is represented in literature for the sake of diversity is actually very incongruent with what's represented in reality, which is fine. Especially in fantasy. You know what? If you want to write a fantasy book like where like the world is populated with lesbians and men are used as cattle, go right ahead. That's your story. I don't care. If you want to write that dystopian novel, you can. Oh wait, you probably think it's a utopian. Sorry, had to get that dig in there. But if you want to write that novel, which from my viewpoint it would be a dystopian novel, it would actually be very interesting. But I mean, if you want to write it, you can. If you want to write the woes of a transgender individual, I lost track of the terminology, so if you want to correct me in the comments section, you can. There's just a lot, and I have this thing called a life, and I'm going to go live that. You can go live yours, and correct me when I'm wrong, and I'll try to remember. I'm not going to make any promises, because I probably won't, because I'm pretty spacey most of the time. Anyway, but you know, I mean, it's just like, if you want to go write about that, go write about that, and trust me, I've seen a lot of it. But here's the thing, as much as I hate to say it, homosexuality and transgender and you know what, there aren't any other genders. Put that out there. Biologically speaking, the idea that there being even mentally or physically other genders is completely, it's unscientific, it's wrong. You have no basis for your argument other than feelings, and feelings doesn't hold up to scientific data. You cannot use the scientific method on feelings. End of discussion. I have spoken to a lot of people about this who are biologists, scientists, physicists, you can't do it. Chemists too. You can't do it. It's impossible. Until it becomes possible, your argument is invalid. End of story. That's kind of how I feel about that at this point, because nobody can. Anyway, enough of that rant. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but I don't care. My point being, though, is that homosexuality and transsexuality is a very small percentage of the population. It's not 10%. If it was 10% of the population, I think we as a human race should be worried, because that would probably mean we're going down on the verge of extinction from that biological standpoint, considering the fact that that we have turned homosexuality and transsexuality and other sexualities into a trend. I think if I were everybody, I would bring that, I would have that be raised into a question. The validity of this 10% quote statistic that I have been quoted to in college recently. I graduated in May. That's how recent this is for me. I graduated in May. I had a British professor tell me, a British culture professor tell me that statistic. It has stuck with me to this day because there have been no qualifiers. He offered no resources, and he just said it out loud without, like, you know, saying things like, okay, why do we think that? And that is my problem with that statistic, because in reality, especially nowadays, it's a fad. It's from the 60s onward, we had this free love fad where everybody basically became horny. And when you become horny, anything looks good. Like, I swear, I don't know what it is about that, but, like, I mean, come on. That's not rocket science. When you give so much when you rely so much on your base level sexual desire, you are going to have that urge, whether you're actually homosexual or not, or actually bisexual. I don't know. But my point being, though, is that it is such a small percentage of the population that I can't understand why so many people want to add all of them in their books and kind of cause this misrepresentation. Now, Cassandra Clare, don't get me wrong, I like her books, but I'm reading through them and kind of going, a lot of horny teenagers in here. I don't think, oh wow, that gay oh yeah, there's only one legitimate gay character in there, and that was Alec. And he kind of got on my nerves a couple of times. But that's my thing, is like, he was legitimately gay. Everybody else, I just kind of got the impression that they were kind of horny. Sorry. I mean, that's just, especially in her latest book, that was the impression that I got, horny and lonely for one of the characters. Because I haven't read the book yet. But that's my thing, though, is that I'm just kind of like, I feel how disproportionate this is. And disproportionate to reality, not disproportionate to anything else. And so, when I hear people on Twitter and on YouTube and on everywhere else calling for more this in books, I want more of this in books. Well, author, I want you to write your books this way. I want you to write them the way I want them to be written. Well, as somebody who wants to be an author, my answer to that's going to be no. You can write it. You can write it. You write your own novel featuring the way you want things to be written. And if you give me some BS about how you can't write that novel, oh, then get over it. If you want to write about how you think my opinion is wrong on science and write a fictional book about how science actually does say that based on feelings you can use feelings as in the scientific method to prove that you're transsexual or homosexual or bisexual or whatever else, that if you want to write that, you can. And if you want to send it to me or make me buy it, that's okay. I mean, hell, if you did that, I will buy it. I'll buy it and I'll read it and I'll leave you a review. Okay. Really. If you want me to edit it, I will. I mean, come on. I don't care. That's my opinion on the matter. Do I particularly care? No. All I care about is the fact that you're telling me that you won't read my stuff unless it has X, Y, and Z in here. Okay. If that's how you feel, you're going to have a very small selection of books you're going to be able to read because you've limited yourself in that degree. But okay, that's how I feel about that. That's how I feel when people tell me that. And you can do that. You can. I just don't think you're going to get very fulfilled or very learned at all. I mean, honestly, you're just putting yourself in this little reading safe space and you're not venturing out very far. And if you want to do that, that's okay. If you're going to do that with your writing, that's okay. But you're never going to grow as a reader or as an intellectual human being or as a writer. I mean, come on. So again, let me reiterate. You go read it. You go write it. If it bugs you that much. On the other hand, I'm going to do my own thing. Not because I'm racist, not because I'm bigoted. I have my opinions about the accuracy of the science cited behind all of this, or the science cited behind all of this. Of course I do. And if you produce me actual evidence, of course I'll listen to it, read it, do whatever with it, and consider it like any scientist would, but always would with the understanding that science is always open to interpretation and always open to change. But that doesn't mean I'm not going, that doesn't make me bigoted or hatred or mean. It just means I'm a skeptic. But apparently that's bigoted and hateful and all that stuff. To be skeptical. You are not allowed to question the narrative. You are just supposed to follow like the good little sheep you are. So BookTube, I'm breaking away on that front. I'm going to be a black sheep. I'm going to write how I'm going to write. I'm going to read how I'm going to read. And I read novels with a lot of diversity in them. But I normally finish reading the ones that are actually good, and I stop reading the ones that suck. And trust me, there's a lot that suck. It's pretty widespread, and it's mostly in the young adult genre. And that's my opinion on that matter. So, as a recap, Victoria Schwab, don't be like her in the way she deals with her fans. Don't tell authors what to do, and write your own damn novel. Bye.